Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles. This is my tag team partner, Kirby.
Gary Rhodes, everybody.
That's your answer every time I say a name.
Well, you give me people that don't talk.
Kind of like I wish you wouldn't talk.
Or, please shut George up. Either way.
Anyway, this is our TNA show for the week, and right off the bat, we had the Hulkster Hulk Hogan coming to the ring with the Stingmon.
I said Stingmon.
Protector of the Nightmon?
Red Stripe.
Hooray Queer?
Sting.
Anyway, well, the Hulkster and Stingmon, they actually had a purpose this week. They were announcing that they're going to evaluate the matches on tonight's show for a challenger for Jeff Hardy's title on the 28th, which is the first show that Hardy will be back from injury. And coming off that, our first match that they're going to evaluate is Christopher Daniels versus Magnus.
Like the match. As a fan of Daniels, I was kind of upset by the outcome, but I like the outcome for. It was like a double-edged sword. Magnus is young.
And they're in England.
So it's good for him to get over. But Daniels just had a championship match, and now he's jobbing to a kid.
Well, TNA booking is very inconsistent, as most companies are in the wrestling business. Shoot, Hulkster.
Brother.
But, it's who knows who's getting pushed this week, who's getting de-pushed this week. I think it was more of a matter of giving Magnus a strong win in his home country. And, I thought it was a good match. I liked it. It was a good beginning match for the show. I could have done without the Hogan and Sting pandering, and they just announced the stipulations for these matches during the matches. They could have did a little graphic or something, and opened the show with this, which would have been a lot better than 60-year-old Hogan and 50-something-year-old Sting.
Kissing each other's ass, brother. Sorry. You bring the Hulkster up, brother. First match out of the gate was Daniels
Sorry. I mean the second match, Gary?
Yes, my bad.
Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle.
Sorry. We got me on the Sting talk. Anyways, I thought this was a great match.
I thought it was good. I liked it, and then at the end, Briscoe and Wes Briscoe and Garrett Bischoff run in and interfere, basically, so no guy takes a clean win. I kind of like a screwjob finish when you don't want either guy to lose. It keeps them both strong. These are two of the strongest faces in TNA, and they're the guys that have been out front fighting aces and eights. So it makes sense that they're the ones that aces and eights would attack, both of them.
Exactly. Plus, it will build up a little bit of an angle between Angle, Joe, and Briscoe and Bischoff. I think at the pay-per-view, when it finally gets to that time, I think they should let the kids get over. I know I'll probably get hell for saying that, but I think it would be good.
Speaking of kids getting over, we had the next match involved some wrestlers from the TNA British Boot Camp, which I haven't seen. I don't know if you've watched any of it.
I haven't watched any of it.
The winner was Rockstar Spud, who we seen on last week's show. This week we had some of the other contestants, the Blossom Twins, which was a girl twin group, and Party Marty, and they were going up against Gail Kim, Tara, and Jesse. I thought it was a good match. I liked the kids. I liked Party Marty had some really good moves. He has a goofy name, but
I like the kid. I thought he was just a little off. I mean, I wouldn't say. I mean, I don't take a lot away from him because it's like the first time on national television and a giant
international television.
Exactly, and a giant, being in a giant arena, probably the biggest crowd he's ever wrestled in.
Do you think that's him or Jesse? Do you think if they would have put him in a ring,
do you think Jesse should have tried to catch him at the end?
Well, you think if they would have, let's say they substituted Zema Ion for Jesse, do you think he would have covered up some of his?
Oh, of course. I mean, you're putting a greenhorn in there with another greenhorn, so you don't really have a chance to have somebody with a little bit more experience. You were absolutely correct. I think Zema would have been good, or Kenny King in that spot. I know that him and Tara are together, but I think it would have worked better with somebody with some more experience.
Exactly, and he would have covered if it was Party Marty, which, again, like I said, is it Party Marty or is it Jesse or is it a combination of the both?
I thought the Blossom twins looked excellent, though.
Yeah. Some attractive women, kind of. The whole time what I was thinking, I'd like to see the Blossom twins versus the Bella twins. Sometimes weird crap like that comes into my brain,
I like the fact that they really gelled good against Gail Kim and Tara. And I liked Gail Kim's little challenge after the match.
Yeah, when she challenged Tara and then Brooke came out and made it a four-way with Velvet Sky and Miss Tessmacher for next week's show. That was solid. I mean, I'm excited to see that match. It's four of the best women's wrestlers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're going to get them next week. Now, before we go any further, let's go into our question of the week from last week. Now, the question was, do you think that TNA should go back to the six-sided ring? First answer we have is from our friend Paul over at the Deadly Sins. I hated the fact that TNA dropped the six-sided ring. I thought it was something that set them apart from WWE. It's something they need to bring back. What do you think on the situation?
I liked it, but I'm a traditionalist. I like the four sides. I think it kind of cheapened it, to be honest with you. Plus, these guys here are coming from WWE, most of the guys, so they're used to a four-sided ring, so it's a lot less botching, I think.
I like the six-sided ring for the same reasons that Paul did, for the reasons that it looked different than WWE, and I like the fact that a guy like, let's say, Rob Van Dam or Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, they could innovate moves using the different angles that you could go off of these ropes. I think the best person I ever seen to take advantage of it was Monty Brown, because he would whip him in and then he'd hit the pounce from a different direction, and it made a simple little shoulder block an impressive move, just based off of the way they would hit it off the ropes.
I have to agree with you on that.
And I like the six sides of steel. I thought that was a good. The cage itself was impressive looking, especially when they would do the lockdown and put the roof on it.
Mm-hmm. You're right about the Monty Brown thing. I'd agree with you on that. When he went to WWE as
Marcus Corvon,
when he did the pounce on there, it didn't look that great.
No, and I think it's all about the angles. Because if you remember, he'd throw him in one way and he'd come off a different direction, mm-hmm. and it would look like a car crash. And I liked it. I think, especially when they were more featuring the X Division, it helped the X Division wrestlers because they could innovate off of it. A guy like Kurt Angle, you can make a circle with no ropes and he's going to put on a great match.
Oh, exactly.
But some of these other guys, they need a little bit of flippiness or whatever. I think it's something they should bring back. At the very least, it should come back for the Destination X pay-per-view. That's my opinion.
No.
Now, coming off of that, speaking of a guy that would be innovative in the six-sided ring, and was when he was there with it, the past couple weeks, Jeff Hardy has been off at TNA for visa reasons since they've been in Great Britain. He had to stay in the United States. They wrote it off as a storyline injury. Does the TNA show hurt? Is it hurting the TNA show to not have their world champion there? It's been 3 weeks already. What do you guys think? Do you think does it bother you that the world champion's not there? Does it not bother you? Does it not matter at all? It's kind of like what we had in WWE when a certain world champion's out doing movie premieres instead of being on the main show. But let us know what you think. Hit us up on our Twitter. Hit us on Facebook. Put it down where?
Down there.
Right down there in the comments. And we'll talk about the situation a little more next week, as they are still going to be in Britain, so it will still be relevant. Speaking of the guy that's still relevant after all these years, the whole effing show, Rob. Mr. Monday Night.
Actually, he's Mr. Thursday Night.
You blew the spot.
Sorry.
RVD. Mr. PPV.
He did the JOB to James Storm, though, and I think it was a great match. And we were talking about Storm really not being in the situation where he should be in. He should be in the main event area, and this is really going to bring him back to it. I think.
Do you think? Do you think, not to compare, but do you think that James Storm is kind of their Dolph Ziggler, where he should be in the main event, but they haven't found a spot to fit him in yet?
I agree with you on that. You know, the thing is, the guy's money. I mean, he's a great talker. He's great in the ring.
Even in England, the fans went apeshit for him.
Exactly. He's over everywhere he goes. And I think now that TNA is on the road, I think that's going to help out even more, because I think they're going to say, well, damn, he's over everywhere. You might as well put the belt on him.
Long necks and right necks.
Exactly.
I agree. I think I liked it for the business. Plus, RVD's already the X Division champion. He doesn't really necessarily need to be in the world title picture. And coming from that, our main event of the night was a battle between the World Tag Team Champions, Bobby Roode and Austin Aries. I'll go ahead and let you say what happened first, because I swear to God, you were like a kid in a candy store when they did it.
I was like, George, watch them. They're going to do the finger poke of doom, watch. And I said, they do the finger poke of doom, I'm going to say this is the best show ever. just to say it. And it ends up they do the finger poke of doom. I loved it. I love the fact these two guys work so good with each other, against each other. That just shows you how awesome these two really are.
Would you say this is how you do a comedy match?
Oh, yes. This here is probably one of their two comedy matches they've had against each other are 2 and 3. I still think the best comedy match was Daniel Bryan versus Tyson Kidd on the side.
Where he kept doing the ball.
He rolled himself into a ball. You know, to me that's still funny as all hell. I'd love to see him bring it to Raw. Sorry to change the subject on it, but I'm just saying this match here is probably the third funniest match in 12 months.
Well, I would agree. This is a good match. This is how, a guy like Santino or some of the other comedy wrestlers, if they had a more serious side, Eric Young is someone that this reminds me of, where they do comedy spots, but they also wrestle serious. Austin Aries and Bobby Roode are two of the most serious wrestlers in TNA, but their interactions with each other sells the comedy, sells the finger pokes. They were going on a finger poking rampage.
I poked you, you lay down. No, I poked you, you lay down. I loved it. These two here are head and shoulders above almost everybody else in that company. I'm sorry.
Yep. And again, they're two guys that should be in the world title picture, along with guys like James Storm, Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle, Daniels and Magnus. I mean, the guys they picked for these showcase matches, because it's not really a tournament. The guys they picked for these showcase matches, I think they were dead on. It's the guys that you would want to see in there.
And I like the end of it. I like the fact that they both got counted out because of Guerrero and Supermax getting them counted out. I enjoyed that because neither of them needed to get pinned. Yeah. It wouldn't have hurt them either way.
I beat him back to the ring.
I loved it. The only thing they should have done was beat up Hefner.
Exactly.
Father like son.
Yeah. But anyway, now coming off of that, we had our main event segment of the night. And before we go into that, let's do our Thunder Lips Hulk Hogan count for the night. 5. Up. 5 time. Thunder Lips of the show.
Well, do 2 more because you already did 3.
I don't care. I'm not for critique.
Sucker.
Hulk
Hogan, he's coming for you. Anyway, I think they were a little too heavy on Hogan. I think they could have kept a count down to about 2 or 3, and his part of the storyline would have been good.
I think the sweet spot is 2, 3 at the most. This wasn't a show that was heavily on the Aces and Eights storylines. When the shows are heavy on the Aces and Eights storylines, it's okay for Hogan to be out more because he's heavily involved in that story. But in my opinion, I agree with you. It's a little too much Hogan, and Hogan is the one that comes out he begins the show, ends the show. He's going to announce who he's going to have go up against Jeff Hardy, and that brings out the Aces and Eights. They look like they're going to attack Hogan. Bully Ray comes out with a chain. Sting comes out with 3 bats. Basically, the Aces and Eights never attack. We go off the air with Bully Ray staring down Devon, which, in my opinion, that's probably going to what they're doing at Lockdown's the next pay-per-view, that they're going to have Bully Ray versus Devon for probably the 500th time. But that's okay. It's a good matchup, a good history. I like both the Dudley boys, and I like the Dudleys as a match against each other. But basically, you know, that's what would you now? If you guys remember last week, and I'm sorry, we forgot to do it on our WWE show. We have a rating scale made out for WWE. We just forgot to do it. Sorry about that. But last week we introduced a new rating scale for TNA, and we'll go over it again. It's the 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. Number 5 would be Kurt Angle, 4 Christopher Daniels, 3 James Storm, 2 Christian York, 1 Garrett Bischoff. Gary, what would you give this show on the Bischoff to Angle scale?
I'm going to give it a 3 James Storm.
Think a 3 James Storm?
I was really high on the Roode and Aries match. You know, that saved a lot of the show for me. I was sick of seeing Hogan. I like the way that the young bloods fought against, you know, well, sort of seasoned talent. Daniels and Magnus was good.
I'm gonna go a little bit higher. I'm gonna give it a 4 Christopher Daniels. Basically, all the matches were good. They're who I would want to, like I said, they're who I would want to see in this semi-tournament. The only thing that stops it from being a 5 is that we had 2 non-endings, a Roode and Aries match and the Joe and Angle match, both ended without an actual ending.
Yep.
And we ended the show without Hogan saying who the top contender would be either. So that's what detracts it from taking it to a 5. As far as the in-ring action was phenomenal.
That was great. I didn't read on anything about with the Party Marty thing. I don't know. Did he get an injury from that last dive he did?
Oh, I don't know, but it looked like he bumped his head pretty hard against their
ring.
But you know, hopefully nothing bad happened to the kid. Hopefully he's got a bright future coming up.
Not future endeavors.
No. John's not there. Anyway, is there anything you needed to add to the show?
That's it.
Well, my name is George Coles.
I'm Gary Rhodes.
And this has been our Heel Heat TNA show.